concept of a profile, and Certain shares that concept, right? So a single profile in Certain can authenticate and register for any number of events, and we'll be able to track that historically within the application, okay? Now, most customers choose to leverage that because they do want that historical reporting. With, any SAML2-based identity provider out there. So if you guys are using an identity provider for, all of your that and leverage that as well, okay? So back here on this event, I could log in, or let's just go ahead. We've enabled public style registration here, just like you guys. So now you can see I'm into that form sequence, and we're presenting, some additional information about the event. And then down here, I'm just capturing the required fields, right? So I can just come in here. We'll put a new record in here. And you can make, fields required or not. You can add, custom fields, custom questions like these down here. Okay, so I can come in here, kind of answer my questions. I didn't populate all of your list, obviously, but just so you guys get the idea here, once I continue, now I've essentially processed, a registration for that event, right? So I've received a branded confirmation email. Here's my confirmation landing page. We can do things like add to calendar, printable view. We leverage the barcode a lot, 1D, 2D, and QR codes for the on-site experience, right? If you guys want to use our check-in application, simply scan that email, they're checked in, you can badge them and everything else, and they're often going to sessions and things like that if you're doing events to that scale. Otherwise, pretty simple, scan them, they're checked in, maybe they're just off and going, right? So that's kind of an example of kind of a simple registration. I can give you a few other looks at some more complex ones, right? So this guy, we're asking all sorts of stuff during this process, custom questions here to identify, different properties you want to capture. You saw the Tableau one, just another example. So we can configure these, kind of to your workflows for your events. So here, I'm actually in the admin app now, right? So I'm authenticated as a systems master. I can see everything in the system. We have the concept of a user type and role. So I could be just an admin user that can see this session, and maybe I'm reports only. So I can click it and I can run reports. I can't change the configuration or anything like that, okay? The other really important concept here, and I don't know if I created sub-accounts here, I didn't, but if I go back an account, we can have multiple accounts within an enterprise, basically, right? So you can see here that I've got all of these sub-accounts. Each one of these can have their own set of administrators and own set of events that they're managing, right? And they can be completely siloed from each other. So this is how we scale across an enterprise, regardless of what their account structure is. We can do this by department, sales, training, marketing, MBA program in their own accounts doing their own thing, or in the case of like an Oracle, we do it by geo. North America, Asia Pac, EMEA, all those guys are in their own accounts doing their own events, okay? So for the sake of this example, let me jump back in here to the Georgetown account, and now I'm loading essentially live events within that account. Now, the other really critical concept is the template event concept. So normally when you're running kind of a lot of repeated type events, seminars, webinars, field marketing events, whatever those might be, we will create what we call a template event, okay? And this event will include all of the questions, the email templates, the reports, the content, and really, once that's in through an event copy process, right? So I can come in here, we'll go ahead and we'll just copy this one so you guys can see this. Maybe I want to give this, regardless, we have the concept of that event owner. So, I could assign an owner of the event. And then here you can see we can create any number of locations here and populate. We'll click next. Here we're asking for a new contact, so I'll just pop one in. If there was contacts already, you would have seen it on that other page, right? So now I'm at the confirmation page, and if I click finish, it's basically initiated that into the account, and now if you touch that event live at that instant, okay? So now that it's finished, I can click the button, and I'm now in that event, right? But if I go back to my, you'll see I've got a couple of events in there now. So as a best practice approach in our competition, train you, we will actually come in, work hand in hand with you, or live events, whichever your preference, right? So it's a workshop, hand in hand. We want to build these right from the onset so that you guys can take them and then carry them forward. Any questions on thus far?
And is it all possible to zoom in a little bit? We're having a hard time.
I'm oops, on a large screen here. Joe, I don't know.
I can take a look at it on my end here.
Okay. Yeah, while he's doing that, then maybe I'll just continue a little bit more here. So let's actually go into the event now, right? So if I go into the MBA information event, it takes me initially to a dashboard view of the event. Now here you can see we've got kind of one attendee type, but I'm tracking multiple statuses, right? And this is really critical to the Eloqua integration. So we include a built-in native connector to Eloqua. So when I look at a list view here, the idea here is we can send that invitation email out from Eloqua's list, and since, number one, they were invited, number two, did they accept or decline the invitation? Did they actually attend the event, or did they know? So we fed back into scoring the type of any of these records. So if I pull up these three registrations, we missed you, emails canceled or no-showed. And then for another email template with a link to a survey, right? So you can determine all of those paths based on that status. Now, anytime I drill into one of these individuals, so if I go directly into Paul's record, with my rights, I have full access, right? So here's that unique reg code for him, and here's all registration details, an audit log of every action performed. Paul comes back in and makes a change himself, or if another admin comes in and makes a change, we're actually logging that. Time I can see who did what and when on that record. So it's really great for debug type. Here, we include a set of default reports, number of custom reports on that template. I'll look at and report here. you can see pretty simple report, first, last, details. If I go in and I edit, I'll show you some of the capabilities here. So here's, every report has a unique URL. So this is pretty powerful. You can dispense this URL to any stakeholder on the event. They can bookmark it, click it, run it, and get a real-time pull of that data at that instant. So you don't have to give them admin accessibility into the app, right? You can just send out report links. We have a lot of customers who will build a website in certain and just populate links within it, and then everybody knows they can go there and run whatever report they want as well. So it's pretty nice capability, the unique URL per report. I can lock reports into change control mode, so see when there's additions, cancellations, or modifications. And I can do color coding on the changes and all sorts of good stuff here so you guys can see very easily if somebody came back in and made a change and what did they change. Okay? Now, from a display standpoint, to open HTML, it would actually open and you click the link. Okay? Perspective, this is where the ad hoc reporting nature in display. So here's the current columns in my report, but over here I have access to every default or custom defined question on the event. So you can see it's pretty ad hoc in nature. I can come over here if I want to add more fields. I can populate them over there. You know, maybe we move some of these up. Once I save that, it's going to pull data on those fields. Okay, it's designed to be very self-service. You know, you can pretty much go to any data and create any report.
I want to make sure, are you guys able to see everything okay? If not, maybe Tim, are you able to zoom in on your computer on me? I think it's underneath the View tab up top.
Let's see what that does to me on the View tab.
On the Firefox controls up on the top bar. Well, first off, are you guys over there able to see everything okay, or is it still too small for you?
It's a little small.
You want it like bigger like this if I just do like that, or is it the screen itself?
Oh, I think whatever you did there, that helps.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you. Quick question. The fields, the available data fields, can you pull fields from Salesforce and or Eloqua? So for instance, yeah, basically Salesforce or Eloqua over to the report on? Fields that would
yeah, that is correct. I can do that too, right? So let me do this first. So if I come back over here to this event, I'm in the same event. I'm going to go into the setup. You can create, you know, 20, 30, 40 questions in your template event, and then they just exist here, and I can use them as I deem fit, right? If I need to add a new one, form. So if you remember, we were on the entry page, and it said enter your credentials or click new registration, right? And then here are the registrant details and then the questions. So if I come over here on registrant details, you can see how easy this is to basically, here's, you know, the 4 basic fields I'm presenting, right? But if I want to say, you know what, we would love to capture, you know, these 2, you can see I can just add them. Now I can, if I click save here, I can relabel those. So down here, if I wanted to, you know, change this and just make it company, you can see I can do that, right? So I'm making changes real time here. So if I preview that form again and I go into that page, you know, you'll see that I've added the additional fields, right? So now you can see I've added title and company, okay? So the same concept applies to these questions. So I have these three currently configured in the form. If I come over to questions, let's just say here's that library of questions, right? So you know what? We want to add these two to our form. And if I save it and then refresh the form, you know, you'll see that I've added those essentially on the fly.
I think our question was a little more directed to internal questions in Salesforce. So is that or some information that we can run on a report that the student wouldn't be providing directly?
Yeah. So we can carry that information in to any now. Let me come over here. Let me go into how we configure the connector to Eloqua. So typically, if we have certain Eloqua and you can of course push from Salesforce into Eloqua. So that's kind of the chain, right? So if I come in here on this event, I'm going to show you how we kind of configure this and map the fields, because that's kind of really what you're asking here. So if I go, you know, you can see we support Marketo, ExactTarget, Salesforce, and Eloqua natively. But if I go into that Eloqua connector, this is where I'm setting up, you know, the API stuff, and then down here I'm mapping Eloqua contact data with certain profile fields. Now you'll see if I click on one of these, this includes any standard or custom fields we've defined within that. It's of this data into an equivalent field over here in certain, right? Because we have custom and default fields over here as well. So if one of your statuses in Salesforce is, I don't know, paid or something of that nature, or a member, you know, as long as that's in Eloqua, we can funnel that over, and then we can act differently. So here's where we kind of tie the details of information that we want to exchange between Eloqua and certain. Now, when all that's in place, then all of the statuses, you know, are driven. We can also detect if, you know, if somebody finds the event and registers and you don't know about them in Eloqua, we can actually create or update the lead in Eloqua as well. So it is a true bidirectional integration with Eloqua. Does that help answer that particular question?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you know, I've kind of been through some of the basics. You know, do you want me to show you what things look like in Eloqua?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
You said you need to Eloqua, Marketo, ExactTarget. You by chance connect to Pardot? I don't think you do, but.
No, not yet. We don't have a native connector for Pardot, but we do have a couple customers who are trying to do a custom integration on their own. Might end up doing one in the future, right? But right now, Marketo's out there. Yep. Yeah. So you know, you'll see here I'm in the Eloqua canvas and I'm on an invitation campaign, right? So one of the things that we're doing right now, and Michelle is to you in Vegas, this is going to be available in July. So, but here you can see I'm running a bunch of different events here, right? Any of these events, and I can see details about them, right? So for this example, we've already created campaigns. So if I wanted to view what that looks like, it's going to refresh this page here and show you the flow for that particular campaign. Okay, so there's that campaign, right? And all of the things we're doing within that. This is an invitation campaign. But now, watch what I do here now. So I'm going to actually create an event so you guys can see how this works. So the idea here is a lot of your marketers, they want to live and play in Eloqua, right? They don't want to go into certain planners. They want to live in certain and just have that data for their thing. So this is kind of the premise. So if I click Create New Event, what this is doing is it's loading a list of those template events that are available to me. Now these map directly to the template events in certain. So I say I want to do a field marketing event, and I just say, let's name this one Georgetown field marketing. Let's do a Georgetown MBA event, right? So you can populate, you can pick the dates here. We'll do this one on the 31st from 8 to 5. We'll do this one in Washington, DC. Come to our MBA event, right? So I'm just entering some data here so you can see how this naturally flows into the event creation. So now that I've got my details, I click Create. It's basically calling the API and it's copying that event, right? That event template. So all of the websites and the forms and questions, it's already going to be in place, right? So now you can see I've created that event, right? So if I want to look at what it looks like on the registration form, that didn't link to where I wanted. They made a change on me there. That should have linked right to the form so I could see that. But I could preview, what I have in place there. Now I can say, all right, let's create the invitation campaign. So when I select that, it's creating the campaign, and you're seeing it in the left-hand panel there from a template, right? So it's just essentially building all this stuff dynamically. So now that it's built, you can come in here and he's got some issues. Basically, it will present this screen, right? So let me see if I can refresh that. I'm working on a development site here, so yeah, that didn't create it. But similar concept. It creates the event. I can come in here, I can view the campaign, and then you can see that we've got decisions built in here. So, did they actually register? Did they actually attend the event? I want to go ahead and send them down a particular path. So this is calling the certain API and pulling this data real time as well. And if I come down here, here's kind of another events decision. Did they register? I want to send them down the yes path. Okay. So let me come back in here. All right. So let me go back into this event. So you've seen kind of the invitation campaign, and now essentially we can also generate dynamically the post-event campaign. So here, you want to actually, thank them if they registered, and then come down here and basically do an action to say, did they actually attend the event or not? Okay, I want to send a thank you, maybe with a survey link in it, or in this case, there's a sorry we missed you, right? So if I open this one up, kind of a cool thing we're showing here is I can dynamically insert events that are in the future to that as well, right? So here, in that email template that I'm sending, sorry we missed you, and here we can dynamic certain and present 3 events in the future, or I can send kind of by topic or region, and then down here you can see I'm going to present those events that they could just basically click a link and register for anything in the future. So this is just kind of giving you an idea of, where we're going with this, and we're going to be expanding on this this solution, the event stream solution, very greatly moving forward. Any questions on what you've seen, or other areas of Eloqua that you guys want to ask? I guess before I say that, we also track all of the events that an attendee has gone to, any of the sessions, everything else, right? So these are external activities. You can see exactly what that person has done from a historic perspective.
And Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're pulling those next upcoming events, wasn't there a way to automatically pull the next upcoming?
Yeah, here automatically, right? So I'm working in this account. If I want to display 5 of them, I can do that. And then here I'm filtering on the type of event. So I want to pull from all events. I could say I only want events in a particular region. These are just all configurations that are inserted, right? And then down here, this is what's going to populate in that list, right? The name, start, end date, where is that, and then the reg link. Yep.
Great, because that's something that we currently are trying to do now too. And then the email templates, I remember you had said that all we really have to do is that's I guess already built out. All we have to do is change the text because we would have built out those templates previously, correct?
Yes, that is right, and it dynamically inserts this text as well, right? So if you do this right, you don't have to really touch anything. You're capturing the information on the event create. So if I come back into this account now, I'll actually go into that event, right? So here is the demo account, right? So you can see, hey, it actually did create. So there's some sort of issue in event stream, but there's the event I just created, right? So if I go into that, I don't have anybody registered, but I could come over here to the form and I could actually preview that, and right there it is, right? It's going to match your exact branding from whatever you're doing in Eloqua, and I can come in here and essentially you can see it's populating that data. And there you go. I could just come in here. Let's just go ahead and enter one, right? I'll even show you the email here. Oops. So there's kind of some questions that we've pre-populated. So now I've basically, processed a registration for that event, right? Now, I could have just clicked on that link in the invitation email and dropped right in there too, right, with everything pre-filled. I don't have to start from the beginning page. And then here's kind of that email confirmation page, the barcode again, and this should be pretty quick. If I come back over here to my Gmail account, should have that, right? Oops. Let's see. Oh, maybe not quite yet. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, so here's kind of some details. Now we didn't fully brand the information in this example in the email template, but if I come, I can't remember what we put in there for confirmations, but let's give that a look. Shut that down. Yeah, so here's my registration kind of confirmation email, right? So this is what it should look like when it triggers that. And again, it's all about maintaining that brand that we've got set up in Eloqua. So now over here, I should see my registration, on this event right here, right? And there I am.
So in terms of marking attendance for an event, they have that barcode. So do you guys have an app that we would then use to scan the barcode? And also on that note, if we didn't want to scan people in and want it more individually, what would be the process of bulk editing attendance? So if we had 200 people attend, but 5 people were no-shows, can you show the process of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's numerous processes we can take. We do not have to use the check-in app, which I'm streaming to you now. There's other ways where you just walk up to a computer and they do it and it marks them as attended, right? Too, right? But you know, a lot of people are now leveraging the check-in app here, so I'm streaming. This works on a iOS, Android, and soon-to-be Windows application. But here on this particular event, I can get kind of a dashboard view of where I'm standing now out of the total registrants, and then really I can go to the guest list, and here's kind of all the registered people of the event. I can do yet to check in and simply swipe, check in. Now we can ask additional questions if you really want, otherwise that would have just checked that person in, right? So if I go back to the home, you can see that I'm tracking that. Now the other really nice thing here is I can add walk-ins on the fly. So if somebody shows up, they're not pre-registered and we want to capture them and mark them as attended, you can choose the fields here that you want to capture. Once I entered it, click done, that person is now a registrant on the event, right? This is all end. And then better yet, the scan, this is the camera, so this is super fast. Email open, you scan it, and they're checked in immediately. And then lastly, we can do this at the session level as well. So if you wanted to put a device in front of a particular room and scan people as they're going in and track that, you can do that within as well. So it's pretty nice, it's pretty comprehensive, and once those statuses are captured in certain, then that natural triggering to aliquot is going to occur, and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's the check-in app that's available for you as well. Now, if I had more than one event enabled here, I would see a list of events and I can kind of pick them. Now, I'm showing you assisted check-in, right? So somebody's got the device and you're checking people in, but we're also building in what we call kiosk mode or self-check-in. So you could have a tablet tied to a stand, people come up and they just kind of self-check in themselves, right? They could scan their own phone or they could do a lookup on their name, but it's unassisted in that case. Now this will all tie into the badging module as well. So if you are doing badging for your event, you can create badge templates, design them, print them en masse, or print them on demand real time here in about a month or so. Do you guys badge for any of your events? And if you do, are you doing that through like a merge file or a Word, or what are you guys doing?
Yeah, we definitely use a lot of name tags. We just pull an Excel list from our current event system and then upload that into Avery.com and print that way, and it's very cumbersome and lots of mistakes can be made. So that's a fantastic check-in.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Of course. I also know for, especially on the admissions business and other departments, some of the events that we participate in aren't hosted by us, so we participate in a lot of MBA fairs all around the world, really. We'll get this massive list of 900 people or so that are attending, and then some of them may come to the table, so it's not always so much of a check-in process because we may not have access to that list of 900 people until after the fact, or maybe 24 hours before. So can you show us the process or explain the process of uploading kind of external event and any limitations to that?
Yeah, you described a perfectly achievable scenario, and we have customers that do that as well, right? They're exhibiting at an event, they're not going to give them the barcode specs. They're really going to say, look, here's a list. If you want to preload them and do your thing on your own device, you can. So how we do that is right here. So if I come over to registrations, on this event, this is a pretty complex user conference, right? So we got lots of attendee types, but really there's an import button right here. So basically I can, pick that I want to upload registrations, and I'll actually show you this. Mouse to a file. Let's see what I got here. Let's go into, so if I go in here and I do let's see, what do I want to do here? These are just import files, right? So here's a complex attendee import with 20 records. So I can browse to the file. It's a tab delimited file. I upload it, and then essentially, well, I've already done this one before, but I can click that file and preview that row. And what it's going to do here is, all right, so here's the columns, in your file, and then here's where we want to map them. So you just basically kind of go through a little mapping exercise. This can be any default or custom fields as well. So I can just line these up with what's over here, right? So position, we don't have address 2. And then let's get rid of some of this stuff. So basically I'm mapping the fields. And then once I do that, so let's see, that looks pretty good there, right? So I click next. And then in the wizard, it's going to say, all right, where do you want to assign them? What is their default attendee type, right? So I could say not assigned, or I could say these are registrants, and then I can set their status as well, right? So during that import, it's actually going to do all this. So if I just say new, gives me a glimpse. If I click next, it's going to give me a preview. Here's how the data is lining up. And then if I click finish, it basically queues up that import and I'll drop all those attendees in on the event. Okay?
In terms of data cleansing, do people usually cleanse and import via Eloqua if they go with that tool, or do they, is there cleansing that kind of goes through this process as well for certain?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question as well. You can do it either way. If you cleanse your list prior and want to just put it in a list, you can import like I showed you. But we do find people that would rather do that in Eloqua, and then same concept, right? I can just basically sync all of those records into certain automatically, right, from that list in Eloqua. And that's, that's a little bit better way to do it, in my opinion, because then we have those records mapped already, so that when, somebody shows up at the booth and you look them up and you say, oh, there you are, click. Now they're attended, and that's routing back into Eloqua naturally, right? So it does work a lot better if you're doing it in that fashion. Now,
right. And it was automatically associated with the event then in Eloqua, so you import the list associated with the campaign of that event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's go in here and I'll show you. So if I come into my connectors here, I'll show you how we configure basically the Eloqua connector. So here I am. I'm working on a specific event. If I do a new job here, basically I can say, all right, I'm going to do an Eloqua job, and here's the types of things we can do, right? So I can import that list itself right here or right here, right? So we would create the list in Eloqua and we just drop them right in. I can update an existing list in Eloqua. I can create or update contacts. We have custom objects, custom data objects in Eloqua for interest and engagement. And then here I'm triggering those external activities based on any status change. So for your example, I'd probably do this one to start off with. So now choose, are you going to use email address as the unique identity, the external ID, right? And when I pull that list in, I want to bring everybody in as, a conference registration, and I want to set them to invited status, right? So here, this job once and pull them all in, or I can schedule this to be recurring here, and then basically I can do it on the hour, every hour, or I can actually do it to the minute level, right? So you're constantly pinging that list. If you guys are adding members to it throughout the event lifecycle, we can pull those people in as well. So really, it's all done right here, and we configure the jobs that you guys want to utilize. I would say this one is the most common to get everybody into certain. And then this one you want to run, if somebody comes in and it's unbeknownst to you in Eloqua, you want to capture that, right? So we can queue this job up, and it's just perpetually pushing those people into Eloqua. And then these are pretty nice. So I want to generate that activity in Eloqua when everybody comes in and they move to attended status. Yeah, I'm going kind of deep here, showing you some of this stuff, but you know, at this point, you know, I think you guys can kind of drive me wherever you would like to. If you want to go into, you know, some of this stuff, I can do that, or whatever you guys want to do.
I have a question about, so we will create events constituent interactive students, and we send like an invitation to the staff and use it. So is there so that basically create 3 events with et cetera. So it's very like, for instance, like you need to be here at 10 a.m. or student volunteers, you only need to be here at 11:30.
You can tailor content on any website or forum or within so again, come and do a more complex event. You know what type of attendee they are in advance. You know, we can do things like this. And let them pick, right? But if I can drive them down a complete unique describe completely different understand. Typically, when it comes, you know, to the calendar, you know, a lot of our customers want to maintain their own calendar, and then you can hide and do things with it. But we do have a default calendar that we could, you know, utilize as well, but it's filtered to only show, you know, dates in the future, right? Yeah, so I don't know, you know.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. And again, I think I've found numerous kind of calendars for you guys, so I don't know if there is a standard one. You know, we're calling register I'm going into a form sequence, right?
Mm-hmm. So this page right even occurred removed from the list. Is out through an iframe or something, or even if it was a custom certain or Eloqua page, we can always do that as well.
Yeah, we can work with you on that. We can help you create a page and pull this stuff in dynamically. I mean, that's not an issue. You know, we've got lots of customers that do that. I mean, if I come over here, I can show you. You know, Oracle does it obviously with their 15,000 events a year. But if I come into, let's see, I like there's a few good ones in here. This one's pretty cool. Let's see the certain calendar here. Oh, see, this is kind of the default one, right? You don't want to do that because we find that everybody wants to include it in their own. So let's do this one. So this is the United States Holocaust Museum, but they populate this calendar. So every one of these events is a certain event, right? So any one of these, it's pulling content from certain, and essentially I can come in here and click on one of these. See if they got it right.
And that's automatic?
Yeah, this is automatic. Yep. Yep.
So cool.
Yep. This one doesn't require registration, but this loads details, and then if I click the link, it would load the form. So absolutely. So, consuming what you guys want to do here, I'm just not seeing any kind of issues with that. So we can help you build that.
That's really neat. Thanks.
Yep.
One question in terms of just the search functionality within certain for events. Back in our department, we host or are a part of, not as many as Oracle, but about 200 to 300 events a year, and I know other departments within MSB are as well. So is there a way to get a broad overview within certain, kind of what you're showing here, yeah, just like a full year calendar, because right now we just Google Sheet and mark our staff assignments. You just go over some of those functionalities in certain.
Yeah, so we do, I'm in the admin obviously, and this is kind of our default calendar, so I can go month to month or whatever. So people that have access can kind of see it here. Now I can go into list mode, of course. So now I'm going to see, all of the events in a list. And here you're seeing, this is the account, and this is the live events within that account, right? So with my rights, I'm seeing all sorts of accounts, okay? Now, you can also report on all of this through consolidation reports. So I can look at every current event across every account, and I can just build a report for that pulls that in, right? And this can be that unique URL. So you click it, and you just kind of get a view at all events. Now, in addition, there's search capability right here, right? So this is global search. So if I'm looking for a particular registrant or a profile or an event itself, so I can come over here and say, find an event that, contains Georgetown, right? Because we just created one. So there we go. So there's my event that I just, and again, you can take it to forms, to websites. If I want to search on a profile, let's do this. So if I come in here, I want to look for, let's just say is equal to, this will give you an example too. So if I say show me everybody with the last name Robbins, it's going to pull that list, and 18 of those guys. If I click on one of them, now I'm working on that profile, and I can see right here would be a list of events that profile has attended, right? Now, right from here, I can also add him to any event, right? Because I've got admin rights to go ahead and say, we want to pick an event and add you. Yes, I'm in a bad account here. That concept of, the profile and historic events, it's inherent to the platform. That's kind of a main search dialog when you're looking at data globally. But if I'm working on a specific event, I can also do a find right here, and we give you some, you know, it's advanced filtering, right? So I can say, where am I? I can say show me everybody, you know, with the first name Tim, or, you know, maybe my Gmail address, right? So I can see I've got multiple records that match that criteria. Okay. So throughout the app, there's different areas you can, you know, search and find, and I can do it filtering on these, you know, date filtering, all that sort of stuff as well.
That calendar that you had, does that at all integrate with Eloqua as well? That we could, I know they have a calendar connector that you can plug into Eloqua, but I haven't seen how that works, and I wasn't sure if this possibly plugs into their calendar connector.
Oh, I mean, I don't think we built something to do that, but if there's something over here, you know, and I can integrate with it, that might be something we could look at. I'll ask my product manager who kind of is doing all this. So is it kind of a calendar view of just, are they Eloqua events or campaigns, or?
I think it's all campaigns. So when you actually go into their, I forget what it's called, not their app exchange, but Eloqua's, whatever that is, there's something that's a calendar viewing tool. So yeah, if that's somehow overlaid with the events or picked up the events from certain, that would be great to see everything, including marketing campaigns and the events running through certain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so one of the other things, since you got information, you know, you can do stuff like this, right? So, you know, these are live reports based on global leads, pipeline revenue, and again, we're filtered on events coming in from the Americas versus EMEA. A planning tab here. So, you know, we can actually track, you know, budgeted items and expenses and all that stuff, right? We can map all of these to your GL account codes. So if you're tracking and at hotels and things like that, you know, you can put that. And then lastly, there's a, here, let me switch to a, yeah, this one's got more data. So if I come in here to planning, you know, here, you know, this one's got data, right, that we've captured. So we've got contracted, budgeted, actuals. You can put this data in, and at the end of the day, you know, you can report on, you know, this type of values across all your events if you really want to. There's also a document storage here, enter events, you can upload it here and everybody knows to go here to see the latest and greatest contract or things like that. And then there is a simple kind of task management capability built in. We've got different roles assigned to an event, create my set stat that. So this is not designed to replace Microsoft Project on large events, but pretty easy way to kind of manage that and be able to get visibility into, you know, how people are doing and finishing. Or what you're doing to associate, you know, a value there, we could sync that over to Eloqua. Custom field would probably be how I do it.
So we could then maybe sync that over to Salesforce and compare the cost, that custom field cost, with maybe the field cost from Eloqua, and then the, if they're an admin student kind of thing, right? I see you agree. So I think we could probably create a custom report with both the Eloqua and the certain custom student Salesforce.
Right. Does a value like that exist in Eloqua already that could be pushed over into Certain, or would you want to update it in Certain and push that back?
They have something in there already, so it could be, I don't know how it would tie to events. I know they have it.
Right.
We'd have to dig into that one further, but it's good to know that there's something.
Right. Yep. Whoops. Let's go back to. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about imports and search. All right, I think we did most of your list here.
I had a couple of questions, maybe just about Certain, but then also what your clients currently do. So for virtual events, since we have a lot of international applicants who aren't going to travel to DC for an info session, do most of your customers, if they do virtual events, use like GoToMeeting or WebEx or Google Hangouts? Or do you guys plan on starting to offer any like within system virtual events?
Yeah, so we actually have many of our clients that basically they run their registration through Certain, but they deliver WebEx, GoToMeetings, On24, you name it, right? Oracle's got probably 2,000 of them themselves, right? So how this typically works is you'll present the event, capture the registration and everything in Certain, and then at a certain point in time, you're going to send a reminder or a confirmation with the unique URL to that virtual provider. We don't provide a service like that. We just kind of integrate with them in that fashion. Now you can still find ways to track and basically did they attend and things like that through some of those solutions, which would channel through Eloqua naturally as well. But that's how that's typically handled when we're working with virtual meeting vendors.
Yeah, we use WebEx now, so that's totally fine. And then the same note with surveys. Do you find most of your clients use outside like Qualtrics or things to just capture event feedback? And is there any way, would you have survey data to put that into Certain?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me show you, like if I come into this sample survey here, so we can do full surveying within Certain, and really it's another form and it's a set of questions, right? So if I come in here, we can do this anonymous or authenticated, but you send that thank you for attending email. It has, they click the link, and they're brought right into a survey, right? So these are all just custom questions that we've defined, on the event, right? So I could answer them, continue. Now we could move them to a new status here, right? Completed event survey or something like that, which could then be sent to Eloqua for, more good stuff. So keeping it tied into certain gives you distinct advantages, in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Are you able at all to pull or take a look at the Eloqua instance and see exactly how you would report off of certain fields?
Within Eloqua?
Within Eloqua, yeah. Just to get an idea of whether it's through the campaign canvas or reporting, what it would be. Someone registered for an event, now we want to move them to a new status. It's just, in our current system, it's kind of difficult to create triggers and other action items surrounding event changes.
Right. So I think some of that we're going to do with EventStream is a great place to do that. But all of your your standard reporting in Eloqua is of course available, right? Over here in let's come back over here to Profiler. These are all external activities, so I can create reports for any one of these, right? They're just fitting kind of right here in this bucket. So I don't claim to be an expert in Eloqua reporting, but I don't even know if we've got anything set up here in that regard. But
no problem. It's probably a better question for Eloqua. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I don't even know if we've got anything in here. Let's see if we got default reports. I guess I need to create some reports in here. There are dashboard reports though, right? So let's see, where's exit? I don't know, let's see what this guy has. Look at all this great reporting. You can pretty much do anything in here.
And then I am on my last final question, but I had a question about when you were talking about the URLs, the unique URLs for events. Is it possible, like for the NBA info session example that you showed, we host about 8 of those a year. So is it possible to just group all 8 of those into one URL, which we would then send to an email, or or through an email, or if someone called our office, we would just send them the link to sign up?
Yeah. So every form unique URL as well, and any if you're using a website, they have a unique URL. So if you can send those specific to any city or meeting, and then basically they can click on it and then they'll be registering for that event. Now
I was asking more on the terms of being able to show through one URL multiple types of events. So when you create an MBA info session, we want to be able to have one URL that's all 8 of those types of events. Right now in our options, it's a group assignment. So I just wanted to make sure that was an option here as well.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, some of our customers might hold an event and then have events within it, right? That's another way people sometimes implement.
Can we see from the back end what that would look like in setting that up, like how you would create one URL that has multiple events?
Yeah, let me just show you an example from the front end first. Let's see. What do I want to show here? I was just in one of these the other day. Okay, let's do. Oh, okay, I can't seem to bring one up. Essentially, what you can do is within a form sequence, you can present a list of cities that you might be doing the same event at, and they can click that. And when they process their registration now, they're really registered for that city. Now, that's a little bit different approach because we're really doing events within an event. Let me come over here. Let's see where I want to go with this. Okay, so here I'm showing sessions within a grid in the rooms, but what happens in the scenario you describe, typically we put cities over here, and really you're registering for a meeting in that city, okay? So that's kind of how we do those. So if you're doing kind of a city series, you can configure it using something like this, or you can configure them essentially as separate events and then provide links to those. So I think for this one we would explore, your specific requirements and workflows, and then we would determine what is the best way to implement that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it seems like a doable. It's different than how we do it now, which is not a bad thing. But then we would want to report and know that they attended the Boston event or the December event or the November event, not just that they attended like an information session event.
Right. Yeah, you would know. So in this case, I mean, I know if these are all sessions, and if they're available in this example, and somebody attended or pre-registered, I know that, right? And I can send that to Eloqua as well. So all the way from the event to the session level, we can pipe that data in.
I have a question. Is this done with the app team? Is there a way you can group these sessions in separate URLs? So say I want to send to a certain audience and I only want them to see 2 sessions, and I send to another audience and I want them to see 3 separate sessions. Is that an option?
Yes. I wish I could find my example here. Kind of an example. So here, again, I'm presenting different sessions. Actually, these are events in different cities on different dates, right? And they have a cost for these. Now, this is a read-only form, but if this was enabled, I could just have a checkbox there on the ones I want to attend. And then we are tracking that you registered for this Insight seminars in Carlsbad. Did you actually attend it, right? We're still tracking at that level on any of these. Now, I can specifically, based on the type of attendee or anything else or location, I can say, well, I'm only going to show you, event or with. There's lots of kind of filter these.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have any clients who are using certain for one-on-one appointments or interviews or anything similar to that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, we didn't talk about some of this, but there is here, let me go to another event. There's an appointments matching engine built into the tool that can be used. So we do a lot of large hosted buyer events where, they've got 10,000 attendees coming and they've got 2,000 exhibitors, and we want to match people one-on-one in appointments in predetermined time slots, and we have an engine that will generate 50,000 appointments on the fly, right? So we also do much smaller meetings where, you might want to have an interviewer and an interviewee, and the engine will just run and dynamically place them in a time slot and schedule, okay, for a given day or set of days. And you can make this interest-based so that each party could go to a form essentially and say, I'm interested in this, and basically the other party could do the same thing, and the engine's smart enough to basically capture and create a one-on-one appointment between parties with similar interest. Now, I can't remember, you can also enable it where an interviewee just hits a page and can see a list of available dates and time slots and can just pick their slot and maybe their interviewer. If you want it to let them select the time, typically the engine's used when you're, you want to generate stuff dynamically based on, people's schedule. I think I can go. I mean, that's a whole other thing that I could actually delve into and spend a lot of time. Do you guys have a lot of meetings with, I don't know, is it an interviewee and an interviewer? What's your scenario?
Yeah, for MBA admissions, we have to conduct admissions interviews, which is upwards of 1,300 in an academic year. So that's definitely something that takes a lot of coordination and any way to have that more technically savvy to organize, because it's really in part different interviewees we have matching their availability to then promote that to our applicants. So I don't know if that would be like a different demo another day, how we're looking at the time, but certainly something we'd be interested in.
So our process is a little bit different. We don't have the volume that full-time. This is Kara with Executive Education. We don't have the same volume as full-time in EP. We interview, goodness, maybe about 120 people a year across all of our degree programs. We do have one program, however, where they're interviewed by panel, so at least 3 people. And so if the tool allow us to match up dates across 3 interviewers with the
interviewers, are they day, or are they on subsequent days or throughout a month period, or what are those kind of rules?
It's a panel, so it's at the same time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's even easier.
Yeah, it's pretty easy in theory, but scheduling is a little complicated. So yeah, that would be helpful if you guys had a solution for that.
Yeah, again, I think that's one we can look at, kind of those specific requirements and workflows, and we can probably come up with something there.
Would it be possible just to see the user interface for those appointments, just to get an idea what it would look like?
Sure. Now, so from the user interface perspective, we really didn't touch on the mobile app at all, right? So we do include an HTML5 and native for iOS and Android, but to go specifically to your scenario, if I come in here, and again, this is the HTML5. This will render on any browser, so not necessarily a phone. But if I go into my calendar, in this example, we've got sessions and everything else in here, right? But down here, these are really one-on-one appointments created with our engine, right? So looking at it from the back end, and again, given your scenario, I don't know if we necessarily need to use the matching, but I'll show you. So here in appointments, this is kind of where we configure it all. And this thing is very, very robust, right? Because it can handle those 50,000 appointment scenarios. But the concept is, if let's do a search here. If I just do a search, I think I got one here. Whoops. I haven't been in here for a while. So if I come in on, this guy right here, actually this guy. So you can see here, I've got sessions as well as, one-on-one appointments on this event, right? So for your scenario, I'm just thinking this might be a bit overkill for what you're trying to do, because we manage, sessions, one-on-one appointments, kind of the whole gamut throughout a time period. For what you're describing, it might be easier if, somebody came in and, you could actually map times, look for availability, and schedule an appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize this was a scenario for me, for Exec Ed. Yeah, that's something that could potentially work. Right now, we use youcanbookme.com, And we actually just provide a list. We provide a link rather to prospects, and they actually they pull. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I know they have a connector to Salesforce. You Can Book Me does. It's a UK vendor, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple that way, but that's really just going to be based on one person's calendar. And then once they book a time, we block off certain dates at certain times, and so then we just go in and hope that no one's had to take that spot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably not use this for that, because again, it's, you know, you're not relying on anything dynamic to generate an appointment in a particular time slot. You're actually kind of picking the desired time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for showing me that.
Yep.
And then
all right.
Sorry, one last one for me. From the costing structure, so I know you guys charge based on registrants. Do you charge based on unique registrants, or if they're already in the system? So I'm thinking our students, they register for one event, and then most of our students attend multiple events throughout the course of their life cycle. So would we get charged for every single event that they register for, or just them as unique registrants?
Yeah, that would be accurate. So it's really, you know, once the profile is established, you know, they can register for any number of events, and those would count as a registration. Now, if you bring in a list of, you know, 10,000 from Eloqua into Certain on a given event, and only 1,000 register, you're only charged for those 1,000, right? So it's completed registrations per event.
All right, cut out right at the end there. So it is charged for every single time they register, or just for that unique registrant in the system?
Yeah, it's charged for any time they register for a specific event. That counts as a registration in this loop.
So if one person attends 20 events over the course of the year, that counts as 20 registrants.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
So yeah, we're coming up on the end of our time frame here. You know, want to open it up to kind of next steps, or you know, Emily, maybe we can take that offline if you'd like. You know, and kind of any thoughts or.
Sorry, we were just talking internally. This is Emily.
Yeah, no problem.
I have to take this conversation offline because, again, I know we have 1 minute left. I don't want to take too much time up. But we do have a unique use case with MBA admissions, and they alluded to this earlier, that we do for external events, so like those MBA fairs. But once those fairs are over, then we do want to keep track of who attended that fair and basically upload those registrants. So I'm not really sure how that would work with your system, but I did want to sort of state that use case since it is a bit unique. And again, we can take that offline. Just figured I would mention it. That's what we were just discussing.
Yeah, so I can take that one. So as long as, you know, if we have an event in Certain that represents those events, and again, you're managing and you're knowing, you know, that somebody attended, when you do this import, you can essentially put in their unique ID included to that, and it would map essentially that profile in Certain with that event. So you can basically do an import and just drop them all right in, and they're in an attended status on that particular event that you've created in Certain. So that's how typically custom that scenario.
We would probably want to do the art. So at these events, there might be 2,000 registrants for the entire event, but maybe we'll get 20 people who stop at our a booth, it's just like a trade show. Maybe we would want to import them into Eloqua, send them, we hope to see costing structure would skyrocket if we imported thousands and thousands of every trade show we went to. More than
right. Yeah, you could do it exactly as you described as well.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Well, I think we are all set on our questions. I know, Joe, I will be taking questions from our users in case they have any other follow-up items, and I'll be sure to get those to you. I know we had a
please do. Yeah, anything that we weren't able to address now, any follow-up questions, please just shoot them over to me, and I'll get them off to either Tim or somebody else on our team, whoever is appropriate to answer them for you guys.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
No problem. Emily, I'll touch base, and we'll talk next steps. And thank everybody for their time today. Thank you, Tim, for hopping on the call.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you both.
Yeah.